Julian Crocker Jr. entered the world on December 23, 1941 in Columbia, Tennessee, just 2 weeks after America entered World War II. The only child of Mary and Julian Sr., it appears part of Jules' fate in life was cast early. Both his parents were educators. After the war, the family moved east into the shadow of the Great Smoky Mountains in Johnson City, Tennessee. Julian Sr. taking a job teaching physical education and coaching track and football at East Tennessee State University, and Mary teaching at the local elementary school. Growing up, Jewel could be best described as a Boy Scout, even if he weren't one, which, of course, he was. Exceedingly well-behaved, a top student, and a fixture of Muncie Memorial United Methodist Church, Jewel made both of his parents very proud. There was that one time, however, while his father was coaching, that Jewel and a friend played with matches in the stadium press box and proceeded to burn it down.
It was also his father's coaching that gave Jewel his glimpse of the state he would later call home. Some of Julian's athletes were competing in Southern California, so the family got in their car and started driving. Through the desert west, down the Grand Canyon, on a mule, being among the first to visit the newly opened Disneyland, Jewel got his first big taste of the world outside of Tennessee. It was at Science Hill High School in Johnson City that Julian's legacy of excellence in both academics and athletics would take root. He was chosen for Boys State, elected by his peers their governor of Tennessee, and traveled to Washington, D.C., where he met a senator from Massachusetts named Kennedy. Julian Sterling's performance in the clash of men on the field attracted attention and scholarship opportunities from many colleges. Julian eventually choosing to stay in his home state of Tennessee and attended Vanderbilt University.
He was named co-captain of Vanderbilt's football team his senior year. Still just 20 years old, it made Julian one of the youngest captains in all of college football. By the time his senior year was over, Julian had won 2 of the 4 awards for outstanding undergraduates, the first time one student had ever done that. Julian stayed on at Vanderbilt to get his master's degree in education. After that, it was time to honor his ROTC commitment. He joined the United States Army and was stationed in France. The Dependent School for Children of American military and foreign service members needed a school officer. Julian was in charge of the cafeteria, buses, and books. In fact, it was in the search for books for a classroom that a young American teacher there on a fellowship sought out Julian. And that is how he met Donna. "I thought he was kinda cute," Donna would later say. Of course, cute was quite an understatement for the handsome lieutenant from Tennessee.
The two would become engaged just months later, and upon returning to the United States, Julian and Donna were married on December 20th, 1967. The honeymoon was in Hawaii. The pair eventually settled in Massachusetts, Julian pursuing his doctorate in education at Harvard, and Donna teaching 3rd grade in the Boston suburb. It was during their first New England winter that the pair decided their future lay in warmer climates. The first of those was in Miami, where Julian would take his first job as a school administrator. It was while in Florida that Julian and Donna welcomed their first child, Kelly. Soon, though, it was back to California and the Bay Area, where Julian's career path continued upward, from elementary school principal in Foster City to superintendent in San Mateo and later Palo Alto. All the while, the Crocker family grew, Karen and Kevin, and finally, Cameron.
Though the hours of a superintendent are long and often late, Julian was always an engaged and present father. He loved trips with his family, from city visits to San Francisco and beach days in Half Moon Bay to skiing in the Sierra, traveling home to Tennessee, and of course, trips to visit his sister and brother-in-law at their home in Hawaii. In 1989, the family made a big change, Julian taking the position of superintendent in Paso Robles, and so he, Donna, and the children settled in Templeton. It was there the three youngest Crocker children would finish high school and move on to college. Sadly, in 1996, 19-year-old Kevin died in a car accident. During this stage of his career in San Luis Obispo County, Julian would cement his legacy as an educator. He was elected county superintendent in 1998 and would serve in that position for the next 16 years. During that time, he would serve as president of the California County Superintendent Association. No matter how high he rose in school administration, Julian relished every chance he got to return to the classroom and read to the students. The many programs Julian initiated and oversaw improved outcomes for the entire generation of the Central Coast young people.
In retirement, now living in Cambria, Julian filled his life with things that brought him joy. The top of that list, his ever-growing number of grandchildren. Julian was grandpa to 6, always ready with hugs and kisses for Indy, Bear, Adair, John, Cruz, and Everly. And absolutely no one read The Night Before Christmas quite like Julian.
A miniature sleigh and 8 tiny reindeer.
In Cambria, Julian was involved in Rotary, Round Table Chorale, and as a member of the vestry at St. Paul's Church. And almost every day for decades, Julian could be found walking the trails of the Fiscalini Ranch. Walking became the centerpiece of one of Julian's other great enthusiasms, travel. Julian completed at least half a dozen multi-day walks, mostly in the British Isles. He walked from coast to coast across England more than once. Perhaps the only thing Julian loved more than talking about his past journeys was planning the next one.
Ready? 1, 2.
Still, for a man who traveled so far and done so much in his life, some things always remain the same. His love of family, his belief in the power of education, and his rock-solid faith. There are honestly few people who demonstrated day in and day out what it is like to live as a follower of Jesus Christ. His kindness, his generosity, his compassion, and his patience. Julian Doss Crocker Jr. was the model of a life lived to enrich others.
And we'll go, laddie, we'll go.